On Giants, Mounds, Monsters, Myth and Man, or Why We Want to Be Small, by Brad Lockwood.
Copyright 2010, Brad Lockwood, all rights reserved.
Pangea once, Atlantis awaits. No one can explain the Olmecs in South America, now known to have a written language at the time of the early Egyptians, 3000 BC.
Footnote.
The enigma of South America's past was enhanced by 10,000-year-old squash seeds found and dated by archaeologist Tom D. Dillahay of Vanderbilt University, uncovered some 400 miles north of Lima, Peru, and announced in mid-2007. Domesticated, these seeds, along with peanut hulls and cotton fibers, dated to 8,500 and 6,000 years old respectively, paralleled the domestication of wheat and barley seeds in the Middle East during the identical time period.
Nor the Ainu people on the island of Hokkaido, Japan, a people still living amongst yet probably preceding their surrounding Asian neighbors, descended from the Jomon, who thrived throughout Japan as early as 13,000 years ago, and exhibiting more Caucasoid traits than Mongoloid. Meanwhile, Kennewick Man is still baffling scientists and enraging Native Americans. A, quote, Caucasian found in the state of Washington and almost 10,000 years old? No wonder Native Americans are alarmed and Aryans ecstatic. For argument's sake, Kennewick Man is more likely Mongoloid. Maybe a passage from Asia, island hopping, was also another route to the New World. Maybe earlier, too. The Chinese may have a more valid claim to our continent than Christopher Columbus. Haven't we skirted the Viking question long enough as well? Clovis points are named after where they were first found in New Mexico, yet examples are also found in Europe, with others recently found in Eastern America and dating as far back as 18,000 years ago on Cactus Hill, Virginia, not far from the first permanent British settlement of Jamestown, maybe validating Dennis Stanford's controversial theory of Solutreans. When will we accept that we are all in fact mutts, inbred masses of different shades, sharing the same gene pool but still debating? These questions create an impossible quandary, and I have asked the greatest minds in archaeology and anthropology available, ending each interview the same. How soon until we find Homo erectus in North America? Some laughed, others sighed, and all answered in the negative. But I still wonder, like that Bigfoot hunter wandering British Columbia at this very moment, the sacred paradox of both faith and science persists. Absence of evidence
is not
evidence of absence. This is what Cheney both missed and hit head on. We need giants. He needed huge femurs and fabulous tales to attract readers, as shown by the success of his first book, Full of Giants, then the failure of his follow-ups, lacking both mammoth creatures and sails. He and we need giants. From then to today, we, authors, readers, creationists, scientists, atheists, Catholics, Mormons, Masons, and Aryans, need the fantastic to engage the imagination of the masses. It works. Cheney's sales here and abroad of his first book, compared to Larkin MD's sole truthful work, with a single printing, prove that much. It's perplexing, though, truly dumbfounding. If starting fresh, fleeing to a new world for religious and political freedom, why did Europeans bring such baggage? Surely altered to serve their own selfish, Judeo-Christian and other racist interests, conjuring bloodthirsty Indian cannibals haunting hilltops or jolly and green giants. Why did we have to bring beasts to this unexplored land? Because they were already here waiting for us. Finding the continent covered with massive mounds being avoided by healthy, taller savages certainly encouraged such stories, inspiring awe and alternative ideas of whom else may have created them.
Footnote.
George Milner, anthropology professor at Penn State University, has shown how it doesn't take a large population to create a giant mound, as often speculated, and leading to native populations often being overstated in early metropolitan sites, like Cahokia in Illinois. Using 2,000 students and basic implements, Milner demonstrated how a motivated and organized group, each person moving only 1.67 cubic meters per day, can create a 50 by 50 meter mound standing 10 meters high in only 4 days.
There's no way those unenlightened natives made those mounds. An early advanced race was the only explanation. Just look at these bones. Giants indeed. It was too easy to see, really, then and today. Scientific evidence is at times fallible. Our God isn't. Ask a holy man, Increase Mather, or an antiquarian like Teopolian Cheney, the son of a minister, for the truth. Or, inconveniently, return to Frederick Larkin MD.
The subject under consideration has enough of the marvelous about it to gratify almost any imagination without resorting to giants.
He was right all along. He saw the same bones, knew differently, and waited until Cheney was gone to at last speak. But there's one last catch. Yet another mention from Larkin MD deserving of another look. As quoted earlier from his only book,
In the year 1859, while exploring some tumuli in the vicinity of the Red House Valley, we found numerous singular and interesting relics. It was near this valley where was found one of the most interesting relics ever discovered among the works of the ancient inhabitants. It was a flat piece of native copper, 6 inches in length by 4 in width, artistically wrought, with the form of an elephant represented in harness engraved upon it, and a sort of breast collar with tugs on either side, which extended past the hips.
after outing Cheney and rejecting the notion of giants, is Larkin MD now infallible? And, in mentioning this discovery, an image depicting Mastodon, domesticated by early man, what are we to make of it? I tried to track it down. Multiple leads told me that this piece of engraved copper was sent to the New York State Museum, just like Cheney's suspect measurements. Contacting them, again, a helpful and friendly staff, I was told that the museum burned at the turn of the century. Most artifacts were destroyed. Did the breastplate exist? They couldn't say either way. But it must have. Larkin MD said so. And, knowing that Native Americans were mining and making native copper at least as far back as 1000 BC, which Cyrus Thomas simply couldn't believe, to the detriment of his 12 years of work and reports, it's at least probable that such an item did exist. Carvings show Africans domesticating giraffes, with harnesses no less, thousands of years ago, though thousands after the Mastodon were already gone. Why not the first Americans? According to Stephen Williams, Emeritus Peabody Professor of North American Archaeology, an expert and author on native and fake artifacts, the most elaborate artwork created on copper dates from 1200 to 1500 AD. Maybe those mounds around my hometown, covering Cattaraugus County in eastern North America, aren't so old after all. Another myth in jeopardy. Cheney and Larkin MD, and I, wanted to believe they're many millennia old. Few, if any, still stand, so we'll never know, maybe. And yet, tantalizingly, is the fact that Professor Williams has never heard of such an item or seen any similar forgeries. Could this be an original? If so, that single, small, and simple engraved piece of native copper represents something far more remarkable than any giant bones found in a mound. Even the domestication of mastodons some 10,000 years ago. Like those that made their way to Europe to be hung from churches as proof of the Great Flood in America, this lost 6-inch piece of native copper depicting a mastodon and harness is more tangible than a real one being unearthed in the near future. Common to all of us, inherent, our union, whether white European, Native American, Asian, Kennewick, Olmec, whatever, this is our innate need for myth. What do we see when daunted? What did both the early Irish and natives along Long Island Sound imagine to make sense of their natural obstructions? Giant's Causeway and Hellgate. Obstacles. anomaly.